E360 TV proudly presents Messages of Inspirational Stories, broadcasting and live streaming to millions of devices around the world, including Roku, and live streaming to Facebook Live. Also on Amazon Fire TV and to Twitch. Also Android TV and Periscope. Broadcasting to Apple TV and YouTube Live. Proudly brought to you by our host, Donna Guinois, producer and host, Michaela Vidal, host and administrator, and Jim Grant, producer and host. Proudly brought to you by the 6minutewebinar.com.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. Jim, today is Thursday.
It's going to be Thursday all day long, they said this morning.
And you didn't wear green, but I did.
I got green socks on. You know
no, you don't. You're lying.
Let's see what I got. If I don't get my finger fixed, if it doesn't get with all the wrappings, it may have green on the nail or something. I don't know. But I was supposed to get the stitches out, and the doctor and the surgical nurse came in and looked at us. Got to keep it in till later. Okay. So I made an appointment a few days later. So, you know, that's life.
Yep, sure is.
But, you know, it's a wonderful day today. It's always a wonderful day to be able to, you know, help people and encourage people. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the mastermind principles, and
Yes.
I can't wait to get into it. But also today, in addition to being, you know, St. Patrick's Day, guess what else is the national day of today?
Do tell.
Okay, National Close the Gap Day.
Okay.
Does that mean take the slack out of the chain?
I think it does.
Yeah, somebody came up with that. And this is going to be National Close the Gap Day. I guess they were tired of all them gaps or whatever, you know. But
something.
Yeah, definitely. But also too, Donna, this is National Corned Beef and Hash Day, Cabbage Day.
Yum.
Oh yeah.
Yum. Good stuff.
Yeah, I tell you right now, as soon as I said that, I got my tongue wrapped around my eye tooth, couldn't see what to say. And then this is great. Today is the absolutely incredible Kid Day. For all you parents out there, be sure and let your kids know how incredible they really are, because they're so incredible, aren't they?
Absolutely. And not just today, every day.
There you go.
Really. And I know it's a stretch when they are wired for sound and they're being naughty and arguing with their siblings, not doing their chores. I remember those days, but they're still amazing.
Do you remember those days as a participant or as a parent?
Probably a little of both, if truth be told.
Oh, I mean, I tell you. Oh, it's wonderful life. And, you know, when you were a kid and the things you did and, you know, the trouble you got in and the trouble you didn't get in was a lot of fun. Later on, hey, we didn't get caught for that. Yeah.
Right.
You know, do that again sometime. But also, too, we look at problems as being really their opportunities. You've heard us talk about, you know, when you make options instead of decisions,
right,
you really take the stress out of life. Because if you make a decision and a problem arises, it becomes a problem. But if you make options and then you have issues that come up, that's when you have a good mastermind, because an issue is just a signal and to you a flag that says, hey, this can be improved.
Right.
And Donna and I, after being on the TV show here and all, we've had some issues along the way, but they were never any big problems or anything because we were flexible. We had options, and every time we got together and talked about something, we found a better way for it to improve.
Yep.
That's the way you look at it, right, Donna?
It is. The solutions will pour out of you
Mm.
when you have the right-minded person to talk to bounce some, I call them hiccups, right? We have a hiccup along the way, right?
Yeah.
Just a little bump in the road, folks. And when you have the right person that you can bounce the ideas and hiccups, lessons learned, that's when the magic happens.
Yes. And when she says the magic happens, both of you, if you're in a mastermind with another person, both of you complement each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because sometimes I'll say something to Donna and Donna say, no, Jim, let's don't say it like that, or let's don't do that. Let's do it like this. Okay, fine. And vice versa. That's when it's complementary. But there is a price to pay for that. You know what that price is?
Mm-hmm.
The energy will start coming to you.
Well, and there's another price that you got to pay. Check your ego.
Oh, yeah.
Leave your ego at the door, because sometimes when you're in a mastermind and, if you're dead set, nope, it's got to work. It's got to work. It's got to work. But you're in that mastermind and it hasn't been working. That's your ego.
Yes.
That's your ego. You've got to let all of that go and say, okay, I am here for the benefit of what I'm doing to help others.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm here to learn. So let the ego go.
And I just undid my mic there. I couldn't hear anything. So I got excited about what Donna was talking about there.
I was just saying, first thing you have to do is check your ego. Leave it at the door. Nothing will work if you bring your ego in, because your ego is what has you blocked.
That's right. And then once you get these little issues, or like Donna says, hiccups squared away, the energy is going to start coming to you. And that's going to start leading you into areas where, your calling is going to take you. See, we like to think we're in charge. Are we really in charge of our heartbeat? Are we really in charge with the breath that we draw in our lungs?
Right.
Not really. And I tell people I learned that the hard way. You're not in charge of your heartbeat. But my point being is that, just understand that when you humble yourself down and you resolve these issues and these hiccups, that's when the energy is going to flow to you. And it's going to take you to where it was wanting to take you. But these issues were shackles holding you back. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. We've seen it happen to us time and time and time again.
More times than we can count.
That's true. And we ain't done yet.
Not by a long shot.
Oh, yeah. And Donna, when we talk about the mastermind principle, I would say this guy has to be the grandfather of that.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
That is Napoleon Hill.
He took everything to a new level.
Yes, he did. He really did. And he started out with Andrew Carnegie, just introducing him to the 500 richest men, well-to-do men, successful men, and gathering information and putting it together in a book. And what's interesting, all these great speakers, all these great talkers and all that, even the late and great Bob Proctor talked about how his life changed after he read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because you're able to, in his case and in your case, whenever you read a great positive book like that, you're able to communicate your life experiences in your own words, and you're able to connect with people.
Right.
That's your calling, and that's where you look at it. But Napoleon Hill was definitely the grandfather of the mastermind principle. And
Oh, absolutely.
I love some of the things he says here. We're going to talk about Napoleon Hill here quite a bit. A mastermind alliance involves two or more people who work in perfect harmony for the attainment of a definite purpose. And through a mastermind alliance, you may borrow and use the education. Now, listen to this. You may borrow and use the education, the experience, the influence, and the capital of other people. That's very important in life, isn't it, Donna?
It is. It is. Because we all bring a different energy and a different experience to a mastermind, because obviously we're all different. Our personalities are such that you may find that what works for you doesn't work for somebody else. But maybe somebody else there can connect the dots to see why. Say, well, I see you're going at it in a similar fashion. But this is what I'm hearing you do, and this is what I'm hearing you do. And your guys' personalities are almost identical, right? So there's always a little breakdown. And that's what a mastermind is just getting down to where the pavement hits the road and things aren't working, or what is working.
Exactly.
And that's why you have to leave your ego at the door.
Because if you're not willing to get good feedback, you're going to have other major problems because you're not solving the little things.
Right.
And that's critical, because you can accomplish more in 1 year using the mastermind than you can in an entire lifetime. I mean, I heard someone say, and I don't know who it was, but it was a great analogy. He says, trying to do things by yourself makes about as much sense as taking a wheelbarrow and a shovel out to the Grand Canyon, and you got the attitude you're going to fill that Grand Canyon up. Good luck with that. You won't do that in 20 lifetimes.
That's true. That's true. But part of that mastermind is that you are able to draw the spiritual forces within you and other people. So, and the spiritual forces within yourself and other people is really just comes down to one word, folks: energy.
It sure does.
Energy.
And the wonderful thing about that, when you're working in a mastermind, it also gives you insulation as a protection from failure.
Right.
Because you're getting, advice from different people, different energy, different experiences, different education too, because they're going to know some things that you don't. That's the value of the mastermind.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Napoleon Hill, he encourages masterminds. He would sit around and have many masterminds, because when you create your own mastermind alliance, what you're going to be developing is a very friendly and an open and safe alliance. It's in a spirit of harmony, of purpose, because you're all got to be like-minded. You got to have the same purpose in mind. And it only takes two or more people to create this. And no two minds ever met without creating, as a result of the contact, another mind which affects all participating in that alliance.
Right.
And Donna, we've seen that happen just between me and you.
Oh yeah.
Oh, how many times have I been talking to you and all of a sudden you say something and boom, something spurs in my mind. Absolutely amazing.
Well, we talked before the show, and probably an hour before the show, and I was getting ready, and before we came on live here, I said to Jim, "Hey, remember what we were talking about?" And I said, "What about looking at it also from this angle?" And he's like, "Oh, you're absolutely right. That makes sense."
Sure. And that's the beauty of it.
Right.
Where if it's my idea, we're going to do it my way. And if she'd have said that with my hard head and ego, if that's what I brought to the party, guess what? It would have been a train wreck. And the energy just... just splits and goes in opposite directions.
Right.
And that is a clear case of robbing you of the true riches of life.
Right.
And I'm going to say this as nicely and as politely as I can, but only a fool will rob themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to be cruel when I say that. I'm just saying that just to be very, very plain. Don't cheat yourself out of the true riches of life. That's what I'm saying to you.
So true. That's so true. Excuse me.
I'm the same way. I got to clear my throat here too. I was waiting on you.
Okay.
I always let ladies clear the throat first.
So you can see we script this so well, folks.
Oh, yeah.
So, one of the things is this is about aligning the chemistry, right?
Okay.
For example, the chemical formula for H2O is combining 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
That changes these two elements to water. Okay, so changing those elements, adding them, 1 atom of each of these elements will not produce water. Moreover, they cannot even be made to associate themselves in harmony.
I like how Napoleon Hill keeps coming back to those 2 words, purpose and harmony.
Right.
That means you got to be in perfect step with each other to have a to have a good alliance. And that's exactly what we all want in our life, because we want harmony, we want peace, and we want to have our, everybody be focused on the purpose. That's critical in life.
It is. And when you get that together, you have the value.
Oh, yeah.
You have the value of what it is you're trying to accomplish for betterment of everyone.
Yeah. And look at the value down the road for the other people in your life that you may not even know yet.
Right.
That you're going to touch them and improve their life. That puts the icing on the cake of life, doesn't it, Donna?
That's the sweet stuff right there.
It sure is. Did you want me to go next? You want to go next?
I do. I thought it would be nice if we just went onesie.
Onesie. Okay. All right. Well, just as combining certain elements together changes their nature, the combining of certain minds changes the nature of those minds. It opens up the minds. It allows the individual to think and see a bigger picture. And that's very critical and very important, because that's the desired result that you need and you want. And producing either a certain degree of a mastermind or its highly destructive opposite. You got to be careful with that if you got the wrong attitudes and stuff in there. Very simply, a mastermind may be defined as an invisible power. Listen to this: an invisible power that results when 2 or more minds work in perfect harmony toward achieving a common goal. Ooh, there's something about, an invisible power, or like a mystery or something. That kind of intrigues us, doesn't it?
It does. It opens the mind up and says, I want to know more.
It sure does. Yeah. It's kind of like when they say, let me ask you a question. Do the power of the pause, and people tune in.
Absolutely.
That's really something.
It is. And it works.
100% of the time.
So I love reading about him, and I love reading this portion. The ability to organize in strategic positions in a spirit of friendliness and harmony was the main source of both the power and the fortune accumulated by the late Andrew Carnegie.
It sure was.
Knowing nothing of the technical end of the steel business, Carnegie combined and grouped the key executives of which his mastermind was composed, so that in his lifetime, he built the most successful steel industry the world has ever known.
Absolutely. And it's important to know that Napoleon Hill, he was going to college and he thought he would be able to write articles, sell them, and help pay his way through college. And he says, fortunately for me, one of the first people I interviewed was Andrew Carnegie. And he says, he said, I forget how long he said he talked with him. And he says, Andrew said, this interview is not over. Why don't you come out to the house tonight? We'll eat and we'll continue after supper. And Napoleon said, well, that was pretty neat, a young college kid, and he says it went on for 3 days. And he says, I wondered what it was all about. And at the end of the third day, Napoleon Hill Andrew Carnegie told Napoleon Hill, said, I've been talking to you for 3 days. Now I want to ask you a question. If I commission you to introduce you to people you need to be introduced to and help you along the way as far as paying your expenses, well, he said, not paying the expenses, but he says, if I help you along the way without paying you 1 cent, are you willing to accept this challenge? And Napoleon Hill said, I was standing there and, my hands in my pocket, fumbling around with a few coins. And he said, I wouldn't have had that much if I'd had to stay in a hotel or motel somewhere. And he said, yes, I'll do it. And the only thing that Andrew Carnegie paid for in the early days was his travel expenses, maybe his per diem, food and travel. That was it. But everything else was sweat equity on his behalf.
Right.
And he put in 25 years of experience on this to be able to write this book. He wrote a couple before, but Think and Grow Rich has been that made him the godfather of Mastermind and Positive Mental Attitude, and all the other great writers and speakers. They came from that. So you can come from where you are to where you want to be by having masterminds and picking people's minds, using their knowledge and their experience that we talked about earlier to help you get from where you are to where you want to be.
Right.
Everybody does it all the time.
It's interesting because in this, what I just went over and read, the ability to organize people in strategic positions in the spirit of friendliness and harmony was the main source of both the power and the fortune accumulated by the late Andrew Carnegie. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that because we have all heard of certain famous people, or we may know people who have boku businesses, right? I'm not talking 1 or 2. I'm talking they've got 10, 15, 20, 30 businesses. And all of them are successful. Every single one of them. Or somebody who is a philanthropist. And so they don't take money, but they connect people and they do this and they do that. You know what? They apply the same principles right there. They connect people in harmony and peace for the betterment of everybody out there.
Back when Henry Ford started Ford Motor Company, for example, there's a lot of people thought, how in the world can this country bumpkin, and that was a phrase that was used to describe him, an adjective. How can this country bumpkin do what he's doing? Ford Motor Company. And the people who were wondering that, they were the jealous people, they were the greedy people, they were the envious people. So naturally, they're going to hate success. Even though they know nothing about what the man did, they just knew that he's got something that I don't have, and I don't like it. So what?
Right.
But really what Henry Ford did is very simple. His success may be traced to the application of the same principle that, Andrew Carnegie used. Absolutely. Because Ford, he was extremely self-reliant. Most importantly, he knew what he did not know. That is very critical in anything, because he did not depend upon himself for all the knowledge and necessary knowledge that was required to develop his business. And just like Carnegie, he surrounded himself with people who had the specialized knowledge, the specialized experience, the specialized education, and he just told them what it was he wanted to do.
Right.
And they did it. And he just
Mhm.
selected people who could harmonize. Now, he just didn't go out and get anybody. He made sure they also harmonized with the group because harmony in the group for the same purpose is critical.
It's the key.
Yes, it
In
is.
fact, check this out. The harmony is the nucleus
Mm,
around which the principles of, of mind chemistry, known as a mastermind,
mhm,
develops power.
mhm.
Destroy this harmony, and you destroy the power growing out of the coordinated effort of a group of individual minds. So basically, if everybody is not like minded, say you've got somebody in there and they haven't checked their ego at the door, and they're like, well, I don't know. I think it should be like this, and it should be like that, and it should be like this, and I'm going to do it this way, and it worked. I think it'd work better this way. That person, because they're not in harmony, has just destroyed everything.
Mhm. Absolutely. And one thing I'd like to point out too is the fact that we must understand we're spiritual beings
Hmm.
and we got to be in perfect harmony with the universe because harmony is very essential. Without it, the entire world would be in chaos and disorder. And to be successful in life, no matter how you define success, there's no doubt about it. You got to be in perfect harmony with everyone else and the environment that
Right.
you're in. And that's very critical in it, Donna.
It is. And the people who um, that I know, and I think, Jim, you could probably say the same thing, who are extremely successful. And, the common term, the terminology, they have the Midas touch and everything they touch turns to gold. But the people that we know who are successful, who have touched multiple businesses, run multiple businesses, etc., they have something that the people who are not listening to the harmony and that energy don't have. They
Yes.
have they have they are secure within themselves. Their own personal harmony is fine because they know what they know, but they also know that they don't know everything. And that's the point. You have to be smart enough to know that you don't know all the answers to all the questions. So be smart enough to go to those who do.
Hmm. Absolutely.
That's how
And
you create success.
yeah, you're exactly right. And you said that very, very well, Donna, because when it comes to having harmony and things like that with people and being in balance and people who have been there and done it, they are also very eager to help others.
Yes.
If you will just ask,
Mm.
all they can say is no.
Right?
Think about some of the people that you know has been very successful, and you would like to ask them their opinion on something. How
Right.
valuable would that be? How
Huge.
valuable would that be? Yeah, absolutely. And if you ask them for their opinion, it's free.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's really interesting because you know that one sentence or that one little paragraph, I should say, ties into so much of what you and I talk about and what we believe. The congruent harmony,
Mm,
being in perfect tandem together. Not
mhm.
saying you're identical, but your heart is in the right place. The ego is gone
Yeah.
because what do you want to do? You want to know more. You want to learn and you want to create whatever it is you're creating for the betterment of other people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because people who do that, they're wise enough to know that if they bless others, they're going to be blessed too. And
Absolutely.
it's going to come back from other sources, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
If you're getting blessed, does it matter where it come from?
Right. The source doesn't matter.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all. That's a great thing to think about there, folks, because it's very easy for us to get focused on ourselves, get focused on our world, and like there's a cyclone going on in our life and everything is blinding us. That's one of the reasons why you really need a good trusted source to have your own mastermind. Build a group of people who are like-minded and have the same kind of purpose in life that you do.
Right.
Because I can tell you from experience, Donna can too, and I know there's people out there that can say, yeah, I agree with you. When you're involved with someone and they bring negative energy to the party, one bad apple can spoil the whole barrel, as the old saying goes. Make sure you get that bad apple out of your barrel.
Right.
You may have to go to another barrel, but make sure there's no bad apples in there.
Right.
Because it will pollute your strength, it will rob you of your energy, and it will frustrate you and aggravate you because you're going to be out of balance not only with your life, but with the universe.
Right.
You're going to be out of harmony all the way around. And that'll make you miserable.
Right. It will. It will. That's really an interesting analogy because, Jim, we've talked about this. We've even talked about it on the show. We obviously won't mention names because that's not right. We would never do that. But we know people. We know people who they're in with a group of people and it's a meet and greet or something. And you can tell those people right away because they're like this.
Oh, yeah.
They're all like, I'm going to survey the crowd. I'm going to see who it is.
Who's important.
Who's important enough for me to talk to.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And those are the people who have their energy off. And those are the people who are going to devalue a proper mastermind.
They sure will. And when it comes to high energy, I mean, you want it right now. And we got the high energy lady here right now with us. And that's our website, donnaguimwa.com. But Donna's email address is high energy right now because she wanted to make it simple and easy because she realizes when you're in a state that where your energy is very anemic or is void, you need some energy to get yourself back in harmony with the universe. Because everything is we're all a rhythm. We're all a vibration.
Yeah, it's got to be in tandem.
Oh, yeah. And, Donna would be more than happy to give you a complimentary 30-minute consultation on how to, find out just by asking question, what's blocking your energy? Sometimes people can, there might be a relative in your life or a close friend, and they may be toxic to you.
Right.
And
Person,
as much as and as much as you hate to give them up, just send them on a one-way trip to on a boat around the world, preferably a canoe.
Sometimes it is. It's unfortunate that we have to distance ourselves from people who disrupt our harmony, our grace, and our energy. I can't tell you how many times I've done it.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? That's okay. And it wasn't in malice. It wasn't in being mean by any stretch. It was just they were not in the place I am. And so there was a disruption of that energy. And so it became toxic. Oh, and I cannot live in toxic energy. I can't.
She can put up with a cloud of cats, but that's different.
Right? Oh, the little hooligans.
Yeah. She's got 4 wild Indians there in her house with 4 little fur babies that are, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
and I bet you want to get the other one. Yeah, I'll bet you want to start something. The other 3 will join in, or in this tag team thing. And they'll get going, and oh man, it's amazing.
Sometimes.
Another thing too is The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. This is something that I encourage you to plug into. It's a YouTube video. It's an MP3. There's no, there's no video to it. But just close your eyes and listen to it. And it's going to wake you up and tell you how special you are. And it took me a while to get my mind around this, but did you know once you ask something, the universe cannot say no. It's got to
Right.
deliver it to you. But to be able to do that, you got to be in perfect harmony with yourself and the
Right.
universe. It's kind of like the old saying, we all, a lot of people here in America, we talk about God bless America. That's fine, but we got to look at it realistically. Are we a blessable kind of people?
Right.
If we're not blessable, it's kind of like would you take a kid down to the toy store and say, well, you weren't as bad this week as you were last week, so I'm still going to buy you a toy. I mean, for me to get a new toy, and I was a kid growing up, I had to be extra good for it seemed like an eternity.
It probably
Mm.
was for you, Jim.
What can I say? What can I say?
You got a little bit of an ornery streak to him.
Oh man, I tell you, when I was young, let's just say that Dad always had to have 101s with me from time to time, whether I liked it or not. But I thank
So
God I had a father that loved me that much.
that's right. That's
Yes,
right.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That's right. So this goes on, and it's very interesting
Okay.
because as we were talking about harmony,
Hmm.
it is not always easy to achieve harmony. Every human being possesses internal forces that are difficult to harmonize, even when he is placed in the most favorable environment.
Hmm.
Think how much more difficult it is to harmonize a group of minds so that they will function as one in an orderly manner.
Mm, exactly. That is so critical. I love the way you explained that, and as you read that, Donna, because that's very, very critical. It really is. You know, you got to be in a favorable environment for everybody.
You do.
Mm.
And so, in that environment means creating that harmony atmosphere, right? You can't just bring people into a room and
Mhm.
have on, um, for me it would be like heavy metal. That's not a that doesn't create a harmony
Mm-mm.
attitude.
Mhm. Exactly. You're exactly right. And along with that too, if you're the person that's going to head that mastermind, there are some things, if you want to be successful and be recognized as the leader, there are some things that you got to be able to do. You got to use tact. You got to be patient. That includes letting someone finish saying something before you start talking,
Mhm.
or anyone else. You might as well let the person finish and we'll talk about it, okay? And persistence. That is one of the key things in being a good leader. You can't blow hot and cold.
Right.
I mean, people need to know day in and day out what they can expect from you. You got to be persistent. That is critical. And you got to have self-confidence. If you're in a mastermind, so well, I'm hoping you guys got some good ideas today because I'm dumping a box of rocks and I'm blank and I hope this is going to be a successful meeting. I mean, that's not going to generate anything.
Right.
All that's going to do is complicate stuff.
Right.
And so you got to show you got self confidence. That's not being ego. That's not being cocky or anything like it. Because self confidence comes across in a quiet type of way. Being a good listener can demonstrate that you got self confidence.
Hmm.
You got to demonstrate the knowledge and the ability to adapt yourself to be able to adjust to the energy for the perfect harmony.
Right.
Donna, you can probably explain that better than I can. I understand that, but I mean, you got to be able to flow with the energy.
Well,
I
it
mean,
comes from a place of being self in your own harmony, but you're
mhm,
you're secure and you're centered. Okay,
yeah,
you're
mhm,
completely centered. because what you're wanting to do is obviously grow your business, whatever it is that you're doing, but you
Hmm.
want to be there to help benefit other people.
Hmm. And when the energy is flowing, you got to flow with it
Right.
without showing that you're annoyed or you're aggravated because your idea was not the best idea. Well, whoop-de-doo, you know?
That's the ego.
Yep.
That is the ego. That is what will spoil it. That would be
Hmm.
the bad apple.
Hmm.
And nobody, you're not there to do that. So you want your energy to flow. And by flowing, that simply means God gave us two ears and one mouth.
Hmm.
Listen, talk less. You're in a mastermind to learn. Everybody's going to have a chance to talk. Everybody.
Hmm.
The energy flowing means that you're respecting everybody's ability and their knowledge as a person, as a business owner,
Hmm.
just as you want the same to you. And when you
Amen.
understand how all that works, the energy just starts doing this. I know that when Jim and I are on the phone and we end up in a mini mastermind,
Hmm.
man, you can almost feel the electricity.
Oh, yeah.
And that's on the phone. I
Hmm.
live in Arizona, he lives in Texas.
Hmm. And that energy comes from her yelling across the speaker to me in my earphone, you know? We love teasing each other too, because one of the things that you need to implement in your life is laughter.
Lots of it.
She laughs at me and I laugh at her. We tease each other, but that's good because we're in perfect harmony. We're both very comfortable with it. And most importantly, we know how beneficial and healthy it is for laughter because so
Mhm.
too many people are sad today.
That's right.
Sad is an energy drainer. Oh my goodness. I mean,
It's
you see people that's hurting and suffering, and you see it in their stature, you see it in their walk when they walk. You just see it in their body language, up one side and down the other. It's just so make sure you find ways of laughing, even if it's just looking at. Like sometimes I'll hear Evelyn laughing. I'll look out, and she'll be watching two squirrels out in the yard because squirrels are
right.
funny animals. I mean, they like to play run, dodge, and jump, and all this other
Hmm.
stuff,
They're little
and the
acrobats.
Oh yeah, and we got this bird feeder there, and they go up that little pole and they try to get on the bird feeder, and they woo woo swing and all that. And she'll crack up laughing at them. But find something in life in yourself to laugh at because it's important in life. It really is. And let's see here. You gonna read the next one there,
I,
Donna?
I do, because this is really important. And we talked
Mm.
about
Oh yeah.
um, understanding that some people just can't harmonize and why
Oh.
it's important. So understand that some people just can't be in balance, they can't
Mm.
harmonize. But remember that a mind which cannot and will not harmonize with one person or a group may harmonize perfectly with other types of minds.
Hmm.
Don't take it personal.
Yeah, exactly. A
There
good
are
example.
many. Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Go on.
No, no,
No,
no. You
go.
go ahead.
No,
I,
go. Finish your
I was
statement.
just going to say a perfect example of that is like in sports. You'll see a person that just didn't fit in with this
Right.
team. They get traded, and all of a sudden, whew, they just excel.
They take off. Right.
Yeah, yeah, and the reverse can happen too. I mean, we've
Oh,
seen that,
absolutely. Yeah.
but that shows you how important it is to be in sync mentally and be in perfect harmony with the group and the purpose to buy in. Because successful teams, when you listen to the players talk after they've won a championship or something, they talk about how teamwork, how everybody believed in everyone,
Right.
how everybody was focused on the end result, the same thing. And as you asked any coach, I mean, the biggest problem with being a coach is keeping your people focused and motivated.
Hmm.
Because a lot, let's face it, if they're a good athlete and a good sports figure and all that, they're going to have a little bit of an ego too.
Right.
Comes
Right.
with the turf. But that's a great example. And thank you for letting me finish that, Donna.
Oh no, absolutely. Because that needed to be said, Jim. It really did. It goes on to talk about here that if you're not sure that somebody doesn't get along in one group and the other, understand this law. Analyze a record of anyone who has accumulated a great fortune, and you will find that in every case, such people have consciously or unconsciously employed the mastermind principle.
Yeah, nothing
Boom.
comes together by accident.
Mic drop.
Yep, that's it. And it's really important to know that, when you are focused on the purpose, and everyone's focused on the purpose, and everyone's trying to do something in a positive way for the benefit of others, that's going to attract the energy. And that's what it's going to literally start vibrating.
Mm-hmm.
It really will. And I can tell you right now, there was some folks I was associated with about 7-8 years ago, I guess. And based on and I didn't even know Donna in those days, but based on what we have now, those people, they couldn't pay me to come back. And I'm being honest and I'm being sincere because, they just couldn't because, I've known people in life that made a lot of money and they required a lot of time in their life. And they said, you know what? I'm going to take a lesser paying job with this company over here because I can spend more time with my family.
I have a better quality of life.
Oh, yeah. Being more in harmony, be happy and stuff like that. And be around their family and being around your family and your kids and harmonizing with them. Let's talk a little bit about harmonization in the family, how important that is.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Oh, yeah. My parents struggle with that I don't know why, with us kids. But, really, and I feel sorry for my mom and dad having to put up with us 5 kids. I mean, I'm being honest, we were all rough around the edges and twice as dumb, as the old saying goes. But truthfully, today we've got a lot of information at our fingertips, and we have the ability to be able to teach and learn things that our parents didn't.
Right.
They didn't, working all the time. They didn't have the publications were not even there. I mean, really, the books.
Right.
So the books weren't there for them to read. They certainly wasn't no internet or anything. But think about how we can get the family to harmonize if we're open, if we're honest, and if we, explain things and get them to buy in on it. When I say buy in on it, that may sound funny to some people, but have them to at least understand where you're coming from.
Right.
It's not just you do it because I said so. That was the world I grew up in.
Right.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Yeah. And if you push that any further, you'd get some thump therapy.
Right. And I tried to change some of that with my children. I don't think I did, looking back 2020, hindsight being that. I don't think I did enough,
Right.
but I did try. For me, I know that there were times when it was difficult just because, folks, I worked 7 days a week. I worked anywhere between 60 and 114 hours a week. And so my time off wasn't really time off. But I look back and I think, man, I could have done better. And I guess, for me, giving any advice, Jim, and I'm pretty sure you feel the same way, think back to what your childhood was and give our children more openness about the reasons why, not just because I'm the mom or the dad or I said so or I'm busy. And even if you are, like, I wish I would have said, honey, I don't have time to discuss this right now. I'm late for work. But when I get home, we'll talk about it so you can understand why. That would have been a better way to work through that.
Yeah. I remember one day, and I don't know what spurred this or anything, but I was with my son And I just told him, this has been within the last 10 or 15 years anyway. I told him, I says, James, I want to tell you something. He said, what's that? And I says, I know when you were growing up that I was not a good dad. I mean, not as good as I could have been. And I just want to, let you know that I'm sorry. I just want to apologize for not being there at times when I should have been. Because when I was younger, I was dumber. Other things were more important to me. I get caught up in the process of living rather than the content of living. I was wrong. And I just want to say, son, I'm sorry. And to my amazement, he says, that's okay, Dad. I knew you. I already knew that. So don't worry about it. Okay. I guess I'm hard to read, huh? But I don't know what generated that, but I'm glad I said that to him because I knew growing up that he had there were things that rubbed him the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, I was young enough that I didn't care. That's part of growing up. That's how dumb I was.
Right.
And when you're honest with yourself, hey, that's when you get grace, and that's how you give grace to yourself and forgive yourself. Okay, I made a mistake. So what?
Right.
And it's important in life to be able to realize that if you say, I'm sorry, I don't know everything, no one's going to jump back and go, really? You don't know everything? I mean, well, I did when I was a teenager, but I grew out of that,
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So, I guess in a roundabout way, what we're saying, folks, is when you have that harmonizing time with your family and your children, and you're talking with them, that in itself is a mini mastermind.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And have the courage to say, I'm sorry, I goofed this up.
Right.
I should have been realized it was more important to you than I took it. Have the courage to do that. I mean, because your kids will, number one, they will respect you more. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And you may be surprised at how easy it is for them to jump back. Say, that's okay. Don't worry about it. I knew all that,
Right.
And, but think about the ground that we gained, it is just amazing. It really is. It's just a good feeling that you get. And Donna, my goodness gracious, we're almost out of time.
We are. We are just about out of time.
And if you hadn't been jabbering so much, I could have talked some down the show,
Well, Jim, I just felt it was my turn for you to not get a word in edgewise.
There you go. I'm surprised you didn't, do.
Oh, that is so much fun.
She likes doing that too. Hey, would you quit doing that? I'm getting dizzy over here.
Whatever. But real quick, folks, we want to thank you for blessing our life. And, because without you, we would be just talking to ourselves here.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is such an honor to know that we are part of your life, that you watch us on whichever platform it is, because this is what we love to do. We love to reach out, find things that will bless other people in all areas of life. Whether you're, a stay-at-home mom, and I was a stay-at-home mom, and that is what the most underrated job in the entire world.
Oh, yeah.
Most underrated. But, boy, you get paid dividends and smiles and hugs, and that's a beautiful thing.
It really is.
That's a beautiful thing. But we want to thank you because really you have blessed our life. And so we, on behalf of Jim and myself, we really hope that we continue to bless your life and give you something that enriches your life and makes your day, your week, your month a little better.
Absolutely. And in closing, ladies and gentlemen, rest assured that the mastermind principle has been proven soundly time after time after
Mhm.
time with business leaders, politicians, you know, it just right down the line, parents right on down the line. I mean, it's just amazing because many of the greatest advances that we have enjoyed in life has been this successful mastermind principle that created it. Think
Right.
about that. And Donna and I will be back tomorrow. And we're going to be talking about some points you can ponder. And we're going to be talking about some other good things about the Mastermind Alliance. And we just sincerely hope and pray that it'll be a blessing to you. Thank you so much for being with us. It is our prayer that you and your loved ones are healthy and happy. Please be sure to love yourself first. Then you can love others. Be sure and listen to The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale on YouTube, 32 minutes. Just close your eyes and just let it resonate within you.
Absolutely.
It's good stuff.
It is.
It's almost
We'll
as good
see you
as
tomorrow.
it's almost as good as chocolate pie. You know. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.
Bye-bye.